We can fix that. Age is just a number. You can feel your best again. Just ask Limitless Mail.
The Butchery by Venue is Lincoln's premier specialty grocers. Take the quality of Venue home with you with our hand-cut steaks, handcrafted burgers, and locally sourced offerings. Browse our wide selection of specialty products designed to enhance your dining experiences with cheeses, spices, sauces, and more. We also have an exclusive collection of liquors, whiskeys, and bourbons at prices you're sure to love. Stop in to the Butchery by Venue today, located in our Venue at Home storefront at 70th and Pioneers, just 2 doors down from Venue Restaurant and Lounge.
America's been around since 1776. That's nothing. America's still just learning how to party. The Irish? The Irish have been doing it for thousands of years. Party the Irish way at McKinney's Irish Pub in the Haymarket. They've got your favorite Irish beers on tap, along with all the locals and domestics. Plus great house cocktails, a huge selection of Irish whiskey, and the best Irish pub food in town. See the full menu and list of specials online at mckinneyspub.com or just head down there. McKinney's Irish Pub at 7th and P in the Haymarket.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. It doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
The sweet relief of air conditioning after a hot day in the summer sun. For only $2.88 a day, LES helps power life's special moments and your comfort. Learn more at les.com/value.
Hey, moms and dads, bring the whole crew to a Salt Dogs baseball game and unleash the fun. Visit Haymarket Park all summer for Fireworks Fridays, Souvenir Saturdays, Sunday Family Fun Days, and more. With 50 home games, even weekdays can be unforgettable. Planning an event? Make it a home run with group discounts. When you need an outing the whole family will enjoy, unleash the fun.
Our Remington Homes has really expanded and taken off in the last 5 years.
Bob Benish of Aspen Builders talking about their exciting new division, Remington Homes, which makes the home building process easier and more affordable.
The exciting thing about a Remington home is you get to choose your floor plan from predetermined floor plans. You can select your options. We give you a lot of choices. By selecting certain floor plans, they're just easier to build. And you couple that with our great lot selection in all different areas. People do not want to be married to their house payment. They want to get a nice house with nice finishes in a great area for an affordable price. And that's what Remington Homes are all about.
Home building is easier with a Remington home from Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at remingtonlincoln.com. remingtonlincoln.com. Home building process easier and more affordable.
This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
Middle school basketball coaching legend and Duke basketball shooting coach in his mind, Austin Orman. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin.
Yes. Welcome once again to On the Block with Strick and not Austin, but Stricky and Nikki.
What's up, Strick?
What's going on, my friend?
Not a whole lot. I'm excited to do a show with you every Wednesday.
We're going to be together every Wednesday.
Yep, every Wednesday. But then Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, it'll be you and Austin like normal.
Yes. Once again, we thank you guys for tuning in to On the Block 2 to 4 Central Standard Time each and every day. We have the Allo Channel 951. We love you guys that are listening there as well. All streaming platforms, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch or the Facebook, or the streaming platforms to where you can find us, but also you can find us on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. You can go there, subscribe, like, share, all of that good stuff. We thank you for joining us today. We have a great show for you today. First, we're going to get to the Allo VIP line because we had a nice crossover discussion.
We sure did.
That we're going to try to get back to and continue, but we're going to tap in and get Evan Bland to join us right now on the Allo VIP line.
Evan, what's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, doing well. How's it going with you?
Good. Hey, Evan, before we fully dive into football here, I have to bring up the Husker baseball conversation because the schedule was released today, and they start out with some really good opponents like they usually do in that Shriners Classic up in Minneapolis. But then how about this? They'll face Baylor, Texas Tech, I believe, and Oklahoma. But then they get a pretty favorable, or it lines up pretty nicely for the conference slate.
Yeah, it does. And typically, you're right. Like that, they kind of have their marquee non-conference weekend. Typically, that's like the second or third week of the season, but they're getting that out of the way right away this spring. And then, you have South Alabama, that's where Nebraska went last year. Typically, that's been a really solid program. Nichols is another team that's coming into Lincoln later in the year. And, it's fairly similar, I would say, to what it typically is. To me, the midweek opponents are the most notable part because, you think about one of the reasons Nebraska contended in the Big Ten last year but wasn't even close to an at-large spot was because they struggled in the midweek. They went 6-6. But the opponents that they played really rarely gave them a chance to make much noise. It felt like kind of a lose-lose. And so you take out teams like Northern Colorado, you drop 2 games against Omaha, and you replace those with Wichita State, which is starting over, with Kansas. You add another Kansas State game in there. So that to me is the most interesting part. So like the roadmap, as it has often been for Nebraska baseball, is you have to start strong and build up that resume early. But now it feels like there's a chance to actually improve on that once you get into conference play during the midweek, and that just wasn't the case in recent years.
Well, and as Husker fans know all too well, I mean, the conversation throughout the entire baseball season at times is RPI and where's Nebraska at in the RPI, and that you just don't get a whole lot of boosts with a conference play being in the Big Ten Conference. And I think I asked you this a couple months ago, but I just want to hear the answer again and see where it goes from here. But with conference realignment coming up and in the future of the Big Ten Conference and adding programs like a UCLA and USC and now Oregon and Washington, right? Oregon was a host site last year in postseason play. What does that do for the respect of the Big Ten Conference going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly improves the stock. It'll be a 17-team league. Wisconsin still doesn't have baseball.
That's right.
But, it'll be interesting to see because you think about, Nebraska making the jump from the Big 12 to the Big 10. And certainly in those last few years in the Big 12, they weren't a powerhouse by any means. The program had kind of atrophied. But it's been harder to get that traction in the Big 10. And I wonder, with the teams coming over, like you mentioned, will a UCLA and an Oregon sort of continue to do what they do, or will that be a challenge to them too? When you trade out playing teams like Stanford and Oregon State for playing, Michigan State and Penn State, like it's a challenging shift. I don't know that it's necessarily going to help those programs with recruiting, right? Like I've been asked, do you think having those West Coast teams will help Nebraska baseball recruit? I kind of think it'll go the other way personally, where it's going to be harder for these players that maybe want to play in front of their families on the West Coast, to have this idea and wrap their minds around this idea that you're gonna have to go to the East Coast and all these different time zones. So I think it'll certainly be better, but it's also been a conference in the Big Ten that has been not necessarily forward thinking when it comes to baseball. They voted against a third paid assistant a few years ago that eventually passed in spite of kind of their dissension. And I think the other major wild card is their commissioner, Tony Batiti, is a former executive with Major League Baseball and was a big part of moving that sport forward into sort of the modern era with pitch clocks and replays and things like that. So I'll be curious too to see what his impact is, how direct of a role he'll want to take in helping the Big Ten, because it is sort of this quirky conference where it has all the funds, all the football money that's spilled over. These places have facilities, but it hasn't necessarily translated into postseason bids. So really interesting time for the league for sure.
Last baseball, just I guess comment. It's not really even a question. I'm really intrigued by the what the schedule could look like in the future, because Nebraska always has to go to Texas. They always go to Florida, Arizona, and even California at times, or play in a dome in Minneapolis, I guess, in the early parts of the year, because they are a cold weather state. And a lot of the Big Ten is a cold weather state. I'll be interested to see, do we see early season conference games? Do we see something like that to where you can incorporate, maybe get a little bit bigger of a notice on Big Ten baseball with some of those newer teams by combining some early season conference games by chance?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you have to. If you're going to 17 teams in the conference, and so you're playing 16 other schools, as it stands right now, you play 8 opponents in the Big Ten and you miss 4. So can you really have a respectable, realistic conference race when you play 8 and you miss 7? Like, that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So I think you probably would add a weekend or 2 of conference teams. I wonder if they'll go to sort of that pod format that they did in the COVID season in 21, where you had 2 or 3 teams that come together and you play, kind of a mix and match schedule. I could see a scenario where Nebraska is going into Big Ten play at the very end of February or the first weekend in March, and you take advantage of your new league members and you go play out in Los Angeles and get in, 5 or 6 games or whatever it is. And then I think the other thing too is, this is still a year and a half away. You wonder if there'll be any sort of change at that point that maybe separates what football has done with some of these other sports where, it's not that big of a deal for football to go play one game on the West Coast and then maybe on the East Coast. It's a totally different thing when you start talking about the logistics of a 3-game series in Los Angeles and then going to New Jersey the next weekend. So you kind of wonder if the status quo as it is now will still be this way in that spring of 25, or if there's going to be further change.
We're speaking to Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. Evan, now we can go ahead and transition to the season that's actually currently going on right now, and that's football. Nebraska obviously dealing with some injuries all over the offense. Before we get to probably the running back room, let's talk quarterbacks, because obviously we know the situation going on with Jeff Sims and Heinrich Haarberg. I guess just a generalized question here. How careful does Nebraska's staff need to be with Jeff Sims, considering the turnover issues and considering just maybe some, obviously 2 losses with Jeff Sims at quarterback? How careful do they need to be going forward on, we can't play him when he's 80% healthy and we need to wait till he's 100%, if that makes sense?
Well, yeah, I think that's part of it, but I think maybe just as big a part is you look at the schedule, right? Like, if there's going to be a game where you get Sims out there and you get him feeling good about what he can do, that's going to be this weekend. That's Louisiana Tech. That's not a good defense that the Bulldogs are throwing out there. So, I think there's got to be this awareness that, if you're going to get some positive momentum, if you want to get some positive results that you can feel good about, this is that week. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to rest Jeff Sims this week and then with 2 games of an absence to throw him in there against Michigan and say, hey, here's the Wolverines. Let's go win this thing. I don't know that that's the best way to play it. So I think even if you do have Sims at 80% or whatever it might be, you got to get him out there this week. Marcus Satterfield said that they tested him on some runs in practice on Tuesday and he responded favorably. It feels to me like this is going to be a game where you see both Jeff Sims and Heinrich Haarberg in different capacities, whether that's, even potentially at the same time as we saw for a play when Sims passed to Haarberg at Minnesota, or if that's just on sort of a, rotational type basis where both guys can feel good about what they have. I think that's probably how you do it, unless you just feel like, you're going to roll with one guy and that's going to be your guy into Michigan. To me, again, there's so many question marks, not just with the quarterback, but what does the running back situation look like? Can you bring along some receivers? This is the week you have to kind of throw it up against the wall, see who responds. And so you have a little bit more definition of roles heading into big play in Michigan.
Evan, I have to agree with you. I kind of felt that was a right angle of approach. You definitely have to try to, if you're going to gain any type of confidence and you're also going to instill it and see what you have, I think the feeling is Jeff Sims would probably give you the best opportunity to win, and you want him feeling good going into a big game and not just throwing him in. So I have to agree with that sentiment. But then let's add on to that. Based on what you've just shared and said, what about the prospect that let me say, what is the things that you want to see coming into this week as they prepare for another week? Obviously, you cannot look over La Tech, but you have to take into account what building blocks would you like to see this week in order to help you to feel good about going into the Michigan week?
Well, I think first of all, you have to stick to the formula that you just saw work against Northern Illinois. I think you have to play complementary football, and they should be able to run, even with all the injuries at running back and some of the inconsistency. They've been able to move the ball pretty well. And Louisiana Tech is not a run-stopping type of outfit. So you should be able to do that. If your defense continues to do what it does, that's a group you can lean on. And then that takes a lot of the pressure off of whoever the quarterback is. So I think you kind of stick to that approach that it's going to win you games. But then I think the other thing that Marcus Satterfield even mentioned on Tuesday was this idea that, and it was an acknowledgement that at some point, Nebraska is going to have to pass the football to win games in the Big Ten. It's just the way it is. And when you look at attempts per game at this point, the only teams at the FBS level that are passing less often than Nebraska are the 3 service academies that run the option. Like that's where it stands. And so I think the other thing you want to see this weekend is a sign that there can be some threat in the passing game. Again, whether that's Thomas Fidone building on what he did last week, whether that's getting a little bit more creative with Billy Kemp and getting him the ball in space, even 5 yards down the field, let him make a play with that. Maybe this is the week that one of those freshman receivers like Jalen Lloyd or Malachi Coleman break out. I do think, again, as much as Nebraska can win this week just by grinding things out on the ground, I think you have to start to figure some things out with the passing game that's going to help you down the line.
We're speaking to Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. I think along those lines, something that I heard Marcus Satterfield say yesterday was that they're asking guys to kind of do a lot, right? Some spots where and roles that maybe the younger guys or even experienced guys didn't foresee themselves being put in that position because of injuries. If you want to put it wide receiver terms, some guys in some packages are being asked to play the X, while some in other packages are asked to play the Y, whatever it may be. I guess it's just an all hands on deck kind of situation on the offense, and we're only in week 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal. And you think about just the offense overall, like Isaiah Garcia Castaneda he tore his ACL after the first week. Xavier Betts left the team during fall camp. Like, those are 2 guys who would have been weapons this year. Marcus Washington's been out there, but he was hurt most of fall camp, and he's been ramping up. Your left tackle, Teddy Prohaska, finally got his first taste of on-field action this season in his return from injury. So, certainly it's the running back spot, but it's those other spots too, and you're kind of left to figure things out. And sometimes these things do work. Like, you have other guys that step into roles that they weren't expected to, and they thrive. Like, Quentin Ives is really talented, and you hear the coaches talk about him. His next thing is just kind of learning where to be and learning the scheme. Like, from an ability standpoint, he's all you could want. Emmett Johnson, they really like. He was Mr. Football from the state of Minnesota a couple years ago, and then of course Anthony Grant. People know what he's about, and you wonder if maybe now that it's his job, like if he kind of goes back to the way that he was last year, where ball security wasn't much of an issue. You kind of just go out there and play. You're not looking over your shoulder about getting pulled, whatever it might be. Like, sometimes these things do have a way of working themselves out. But again, I don't think it'll be a problem this week, but you can't help but peek into that Big Ten play and that slate coming up. And you're going to have to do more than that. Like, they're going to stack the box against you and force you to do something other than run between the tackles. And so far, Nebraska just hasn't consistently proven that it's able to do that.
Evan, we appreciate the time as always, man. We will talk to you next Wednesday. Hopefully after another Husker win and they're at 500. We'll talk to you later, man.
Hey, thanks, guys.
That is Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. Appreciate his time as always. Stricky, a lot of good stuff there. I think that we can unpack. We do need to take a break though. But it's us, man. We're gonna have a good show lined up for you guys today.
We definitely do. It's some interesting topics out there. Some things that are out there, but we're gonna definitely get back to it. Nick and I here on the block, 93.7 The Ticket at ticketfm.com. We'll be right back.
Our Remington Homes has really expanded and taken off in the last 5 years.
Bob Benish of Aspen Builders talking about their exciting new division, Remington Homes, which makes the home building process easier and more affordable.
The exciting thing about a Remington home is you get to choose your floor plan from predetermined floor plans. You can select your options. We give you a lot of choices. By selecting certain floor plans, they're just easier to build. And you couple that with our great lot selection in all different areas. People do not want to be married to their house payment. They want to get a nice house with nice finishes in a great area for an affordable price. And that's what Remington Homes are all about.
Home building is easier with a Remington home from Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at remingtonlincoln.com. remingtonlincoln.com.
Why are some people more successful? Is it talent and determination, or did they recognize an opportunity? Discover a career that lets you help families reach their financial goals as you build lasting professional relationships, one with unlimited income potential. From Modern Woodman, a leading fraternal financial services provider.
I'm Modern Woodman Regional Director Sean Erickson. Call me at 402-483-6515 to learn about career opportunities.
Modern Woodman of America, touching lives, securing futures.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Gray Diesel and Equipment Services is your go-to place in Lincoln for repairs and maintenance for diesel pickups to Class 8 over-the-road trucks and trailers, from bumper pole utility to full-size semi. Gray performs DOT inspections and are a service provider for fleet companies like ARI, Element Fleet, and FleetNet. They're a family-owned business in operation since 1952, and they keep a clean, friendly shop. Customer service is their top priority. Give Gray Diesel and Equipment Services a visit today with easy access just off I-80 and North 56th Street.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beer, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top-shelf liquor to crowd-favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers, and if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Don't allow uninvited guests to take over your home. Trust Bats to Rats for a peaceful and rodent-free living space.
If your car has sent you to the sidelines, Eustace Body Shop can help. With gold-class certified technicians, OEM parts, and free loaner cars, Eustace Body Shop is your best choice this Husker season. And with 6 locations across central and eastern Nebraska, we've got you covered, whether you're rooting at home or you're headed to Memorial Stadium. Get a free online quote at EustaceBodyShop.com, and let's get you back in the game.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
If you have concerns about your drinking water, just call Bryant. If your water doesn't look right, smell right, or taste right, Bryant can help. If your water has high levels of iron, Bryant can help. If you're tired of foggy dishes and dingy clothes, Bryant can help. Whatever your home water needs are, Bryant is here with a solution to fit your needs. Be sure about your water. Just call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Plains Cover Crop is your one-stop seed shop. Call us now for spring and summer forages, CRP mixes, and fall cover crop blends. We do farm-specific consulting for practical and efficient seed blends to fit your geography and goals. With a very diverse inventory, we will tailor a blend just for you. We're also looking for contract growers, and we buy and sell rye. Find us online at plainscovercrop.com. Timeless agronomy practices paired with modern technology. East Highway 20 in Orchard and across Nebraska.
Keep summer green with Judson Baleen and Judson Irrigation. More than 40 years ago, Judson Irrigation started taking in orphans. Lawn sprinkler systems installed by a quickie, cheapy summer job, install 'em and forget 'em outfit, long forgotten. Call Judson Irrigation. They'll never forget you.
Keep summer green. Call Judson Irrigation 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back on the block, E-Strick here and Tricky Nicky. I know you love that.
Here I am. You're gonna make me choke on the Chick-fil-A sandwich that I just had.
No, Nick, that used to be. I had so many nicknames when I was coming through. I'll give you some of them.
Okay.
Like in high school, it was like Hollywood was one of them.
Interesting.
I had a jacket that said Hollywood on it. It was pretty interesting. And a lot of that had to do just with showmanship. I just, I'd get out there and I'd show out, come out, and there was no range that mattered to me. And then it was E-Strick, Tricky Strick. That's why I get Tricky Nicky.
Tricky Nicky.
Tricky Strick, because I was kind of tricky. Mike Finn and those guys called me Strick 9 because, I would kill you slowly. So I had quite a few of them. E-Stick, you listen, if you ever are on the podcast when I have Kenny Anderson on, it is absolutely hilarious to watch because Kenny Anderson, the first thing he's going to say, he's got that deep groveling New York voice, right? And here's how it goes. Hey, Sticky! What's up, Sticky? That's freaking Kenny Anderson. It is the most hilarious thing. You know it whenever you hear it. And then Robert Pack, I saw him in Dallas. And Robert's one of the funniest guys because he just pops out of nowhere. Like I'll be somewhere and I'm like, where? Next thing you know is a guy waving to me in a dark corner, Robert Pack, right? Robert says, What's up, Tricky? What's up, Tricky? So
Tricky
Nicky. That's where I got it. But listen, what's up, Nick? What are we gonna get into? Do you want to continue the conversation or you want to jump into something?
Let's talk about this because Alabama, we only have about 8 minutes or so in this segment. Alabama is kind of going through something with their football program. And not necessarily they have a big one this weekend against Ole Miss, right? Lane Kiffin, former assistant at Bama under Nick Saban, comes back to Tuscaloosa as he's been before, and we'll see what happens. But this feels like Alabama this year is gettable. And why? Because in college football, Strick, having a quarterback is the most important. We're talking about it in Nebraska, but on a national stage,
That's
right?
a fact.
From a national conversation, you can benefit your program tremendously by selecting the correct quarterback. You can also hurt your program tremendously by selecting the wrong quarterback.
Pause.
There you go.
Paul, I want you to continue, but I'm just going to throw something into the mix to help you to formulate that question of what you said. What happened at Clemson?
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence exits. DJ Uiagalelei pops in. Not to say that DJ's not a good, but it wasn't the fit, and look what happened to the program.
Well, I think more importantly is Clemson continued to strike gold so often, quarterback after quarterback, because you go through that list of quarterbacks starting with Taj Boyd, way back when kind of Dabo started taking over and the reign of Clemson began. You look at Taj Boyd and it was like, all right, you went Taj Boyd, and there was like this list of like Taj Boyd, then Deshaun, then you had a year of Kelly Bryant, the transfer from Missouri, who was the number one quarterback in the transfer portal at the time before the transfer portal exploded. And then it was like, all right, then you went from that to Trevor Lawrence, and then another 5-star in DJ Uiagalelei. And you thought it was you were basically invincible, that you were never going to run out of these not generational talents necessarily, but high level talents in college football. Well, it's unfortunately then they somewhat decide to move on from DJ Uiagalelei. He also wants to kind of move back towards his hometown in California. He was a star at St. John Bosco High School, a perennial high school football program out west. But he moves out to Corvallis, where it's fit him pretty well.
Yeah.
That left Clemson, who saw in a DJ Uiagalelei benching a bright spot. But it was such a small sample size that they thought, oh, we're going to be just fine. Did you not see what he did in the time that DJ was injured? Well, now Cade Klubnik comes out, struggling. Clemson out of the top 25 and trying to stay afloat in that national championship conversation.
So here's what you see. Alabama now finds itself for the first time in 9 years out of the top 10. A fall from grace. And this is what we're going to talk about. And we're going to dig into this a little bit more, touch point, and then we'll get into a little bit more conversation about it. Because with that in mind, Lane Kiffin is super trolling right now. Even though he's been on staff, he's been around, but he's like super trolling right now. And it's kind of that thing that, is Saban going to bounce back? Because Alabama right now just doesn't have that same swag.
Yeah.
Doesn't have that same... like when they walk out there, it's like, ooh, just get ready for the domination.
Here's what's interesting. Like, I think a lot of it in years past, when Alabama's getting ready to play, it's like, all right, I want to watch this player. I want to watch this player. I want to watch this player. Guys on that roster, both offensive and defense, right? Do you think the last couple of years it's been, all right, I want to watch Will Anderson on the back, on the defense. I want to watch all the way back to
Mika Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, exactly.
Those types.
I want to watch, Pat Surtain, right? But this year, your guy on defense is Kool-Aid McKinstry. And that's not nothing against him. It just doesn't hold the same weight that maybe a Will Anderson does. Maybe on the offensive side, it's not a Najee Harris. You're not necessarily, it's not necessarily Mac Jones, but there's no Jamison Williams. There's no, there's not a Devontae Smith. There's no Bryce Young. And I think same could be said for like Jalen Milroe, unfortunately. Jalen Milroe, then Alabama decides to bench Milroe against USF. Tyler Buchner, who was formerly at Notre Dame under the now offensive coordinator for Alabama, Tommy Rees, right? Rees leaves the OC job at Notre Dame, goes to Bama after, Alabama's OC left, obviously, or got fired, moved on, whatever you want to call it. And so then, Tommy Rees calls his old guy, Tyler Buchner. Then Buchner struggles in the first half against USF, and they bring in Ty Simpson. They don't even bring in Jalen Milroe again.
Yeah.
And then what do you know? On Monday, Jalen Milroe is announced as the starter against Ole Miss.
So let's throw this out there. I know that we're on stream, so this would be a great Sutter Heyman text line topic, but we're not able to tap into it. I think there's potentially two conspiracy theories that you can weigh into for that, right? And it's really based on what Nick Saban has said. It's based on what things have been put out into the news forums and so forth and so on, right? So here's one of them. Jalen Milroe is benched because they said in practices his attitude was not very good. It wasn't supportive. He didn't like the fact that he was sharing reps with the other two quarterbacks. And so at that point, it could be inferred or speculated that Nick Saban basically says, you know what, brings him into the office, sits him down and says, listen, you're not going to play this game. Don't like your attitude. Get it corrected. Let's work on it being better. Because what you saw in the game,
somewhat of a suspension,
somewhat of a mini suspension without it being public, right?
Yeah, without coming out and be like, hey, Jalen's suspended for violation of team rules.
Exactly, right? So what you can infer with that theory is that Milroe was super energetic on the bench, supportive, running out, getting excited.
Fixed it. Fixed
corrected
his attitude.
Yeah. Okay, so with that in mind, it could be a second one. Pretty much that you're going to beat this team.
Yeah.
Nick Saban. You're hearing everybody coming down on Milroe. Everybody's beating him up. Make the change. Oh, this guy's better. I can't believe you left him in.
Yeah.
That type of thing, right?
Alabama fans are in an unprecedented time for them. What it feels like the sky's falling because they lost.
Yeah, right?
They lost early in the season.
So here's the issue. You're going to win. Saban is a master chess player as far as he's very Zen master, similar to some of the great coaches out there, the Popoviches, some of the greats that are just good at getting the best out of their players. Next thing you know, I'm going to play these two. I know they're not better than him.
Yeah.
I'm going to let the crowd, the fans see, the media see, so that they can understand that he's the guy. Leave me the heck alone. Let me do my job. Jalen Milroe's that guy.
Yeah, this comes from Yahoo Sports. Buchner and Simpson combined 10 of 23 on Saturday against USF for 107 yards passing. And then on Monday, Nick Saban told reporters that Milroe has, quote, earned the opportunity to be the starter. I mean, think about what we're saying here. You asked the question of, do we see Nick Saban bounce back? Think about the weight of that question.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago, that would not even ever have crossed our minds. Mm-hmm. And actually, it's interesting that we bring this up and we have the dynasty conversations and, the sky is falling type of conversations if a team like Alabama or Ohio State loses a game. Like, think about Ryan Day right now.
Oof.
Let's think, because Ohio State has a crucial game this Saturday against Notre Dame on the road at number 9 Notre Dame. Notre Dame, much better football team than last year.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State whooped Notre Dame at home last year. Ohio State just hasn't been able to beat Michigan the last few years. Ryan Day, it's very uncomfortable right now in Columbus. You need your boots, your hot water, you get out of here. So, but what I would like to say is, like, think about it this way. If Ohio State goes out, they still have I don't know if it's questions at quarterback. I don't know if they're really comfortable with Kyle McCord. If they go out and they either lose big or I guess lose it all, then it's about to get real uncomfortable in Columbus, more than it already is, because you're going to have a new athletic director here in a few months.
Yeah.
You obviously, Nebraska fans know this. You're about to get a new president.
Yeah.
And you haven't beaten Michigan 3 years in a row.
Well, two
could be three.
Could be three.
And when you have an opportunity to play a top 10 team in non-con, you weren't able to get it done. Ohio State doesn't care if it's on the road or at home.
Yeah.
They just want to win. And so it's crazy to think about this, the questions we're posing, because it's, can Alabama and Nick Saban bounce back? Alabama just doesn't feel like normal Alabama this year. Ohio State doesn't necessarily feel like a normal Ohio State this year. It feels like there's a lot more parity in college football this year than ever before.
Let's get into that. We're going to take a quick break. I like where that's going. I like the direction it's going. I'm interested in that conversation, and we'll tag on a little bit more. Also, we'll have, is Colorado must-see TV? I mean, it just seems like they've been climbing the charts. We'll talk a little bit about that as well, because their possibility of being exposed is looming this week. We'll get right back. 937 The Ticket, ticketfm.com.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
If you want all the latest technologies from those big banks, but you also want that hometown feel when you walk in the front doors, choose Midwest Bank. They have top-notch technology. They make banking so easy, and they also have the friendliest staff who will take their time to get to know you and treat you like family. You get the best of both worlds when you choose Midwest Bank. I live on the go, and now I can bank on the go. With Midwest Bank, I have everything I need at my fingertips. I'm volleyball player Allie Batenhorst, and at Midwest Bank, you'll love banking here.
You're counting on your team to win, so why not prove it? By placing your bets at Warhorse Sportsbook. Their win is your win. Put your money where your mouth is on nearly every sporting event. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person at Warhorse Casino, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and Bob just wanted to say thank you for a record-setting July here at Koppel. The summer sales event continues in August, and the incentives are crazy good. Check this out. We got 0.9% financing along with a $2,500 trade-in rebate on select new models. You heard right. 0.9% financing has been extended along with a trade-in rebate. Also, our GM-certified used inventory is filling up fast, so make that money-saving drive to Koppel. It's just south of the interstate, or shop online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All deals with roof credit.
The Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, Nebraska National Guard, 55th Wing, and the Lincoln Airport Authority present the Guardians of Freedom Air Show, featuring the U.S. Navy Blue Angels, the F-16 Viper demo team, F-35, and the Air Force Wings of Blue. Experience a spectacle that your family will remember forever. The Guardians of Freedom Air Show, Saturday, August 26th and Sunday, August 27th at Lincoln Air Park. Parking and admission are free. Learn more at LincolnAirShow.com.
Arnold's Tavern in Havelock is the place to be this summer, and the best place in town for shuffleboard. Come on Wednesdays and learn from some of the best players in town for the Shuffleboard Corner. Come on Sundays for Open House League all day starting at 11 a.m. and enjoy $3 tall boys and $3 wells. Shake off the start to the work week with karaoke on Monday nights. And don't forget, happy hour is every day from 3 to 6 p.m., and you are always welcome to bring in your own food. Arnold's Tavern in the heart of Havelock.
Are you tired of living in pain? It's time to take control. At Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, we're your one-stop shop for expert care in Lincoln. From broken bones to complex reconstruction, our skilled team will help you get back on track. Visit prairieortho.com today and discover why we're the trusted choice for thousands of patients. Don't let pain hold you back. Take the first step towards a better pain-free life with Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, where healing begins. Call 402-489-4700.
Warning, this ad will use the F word often, so listen at your own risk. Family fun, fun with friends, freedom from fuel, free Yeti cooler, free driveway delivery. Hey, this is Carl from Nebraska Golf Carts and Priced Right Auto, and we have the all-electric Bentelli Fun Carts, and they are a blast. Plenty of fun colors, and these street-legal carts come with both 4 and 6 passenger. Tell us you heard us on the ticket and get a free Yeti cooler with your purchase. Hurry, supply is limited. Check them out at 1235 West O in Lincoln or NebraskaGolfCarts.com.
You've driven by GE Landscape Supply countless times, likely without even knowing, at 6701 Cornhusker Highway. Now it's time to stop in. GE Landscape Supply sells to homeowners and contractors with a vast selection of landscaping and construction materials. They sell in bulk to save you money, and you can buy anything from a 5-gallon bucket to a semi-load. And don't forget, they deliver anywhere. Stop by 6701 Cornhusker Highway from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday and 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays. Go to GELandscapeSupply.com for more info or call 402-467-1627.
It's less than 1 month until the Guardians of Freedom Air Show comes to Lincoln's Air Park on August 26th and 27th. The show can't happen without the efforts of volunteers, and they need your help. This is a great opportunity to raise money for civic clubs, student organizations, club sports, and others who want to be close to the high-flying action. For more details on how to volunteer at the Guardians of Freedom Air Show, visit LincolnAirShow.com.
Repeat after me. I will not touch the fuse box.
I will probably not touch the fuse box.
Sip, do you remember what happened last time?
Yeah, I remember.
What happened?
Half of the city block lost power.
And?
My chicken condo went haywire.
That's right. The chickens ran wild. So what do we do instead?
Call Joe at Ambition Electric and let him handle everything. Look, saved on speed dial.
Ambition Electric, 402-217-3415 or online at ambitionelectric.com.
H&H Roofing, established in 2015, is proud to serve the local area, which includes the tri-state area in Nebraska, Iowa, and South Dakota. H&H Roofing has a professional team that are licensed and bonded, GAF Master Certified Installers, and an insurance-preferred contractor that will work directly with your insurance company. Also a leading roofer, siding, and gutter specialist. H&H Roofing will service all residential, commercial, and agricultural needs. Go to HNHroofs.com for more information or call 402-359-2546.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Yeah. That's it. That's the way to enter in right there. We're 93.7 The Ticket on the block. He's Stricky and Tricky Nicky on the ones and twos. He's on the board as well as the mic. Trick, tell me something good, man, because this Trick.
I guess that's what I'm going to go by.
No, you know what? No. You know what? I'm going to call you Slick Nick.
Okay, there you go.
Slicky Nicky.
Here's the thing. I said it before the break, and I'll reiterate it here.
Yeah.
As we're talking about these Alabama teams and these Ohio States and the Clemsons and stuff, looking at the landscape of college football and the entire country right now, as we have tons of natural light pouring in, this is awesome.
It's beautiful.
But nonetheless, it feels like there's a lot of parity in college football right now. And part of it could be because of the transfer portal, and that's totally valid and acceptable. I think there's pros and cons to that. And then part of it also could just be a lot of the times there's not as big of a talent disparity anymore between group of 5 skill positions and power 5 skill positions. And we see that in the NFL draft. We see guys from Central Michigan getting drafted. We see guys from Western Michigan, Memphis. We see guys from group of 5 schools getting drafted and having successful NFL careers. So I think the talent disparity is a little bit, not as wide at the group of 5 versus power 5 level.
Yeah.
But then I look at like this weekend's schedule, a really, really good week in college football. And after we've exited a time, it feels like to where it was okay, the number 1 team in the country, always going to win.
Yeah.
The number 2 team in the country, same there. They're going to blow them out by 25 points. Same with number 3, same with number 4, and same with the top 10.
Yeah.
There was maybe every now and then you'd have a team in the top 10 lose, and it would be notable for a couple of days and you'd move on. Now, though, you have Georgia down 17-3 at half to South Carolina at home. Now you have Alabama, who, yes, against a very good Texas team, loses at home. Clemson goes on the road week 1 and loses to not a football power, but the Duke Blue Devils. You have all these, they're not even becoming upsets anymore. It feels like.
Yeah.
It's just the less likely thing to have happen.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. And so where there's a lot of just really good teams, but even at Georgia, they're not that far and away from Texas right now. They didn't look that much better than South Carolina. I think they have maybe better talent, and that's what ends up winning them the game.
Yeah.
But when you look at the parity, like I look at this weekend, Ole Miss could beat Bama, and would anybody really be surprised? Maybe a little shocked, but it wouldn't be like, man, 3 hours later, I'm still shocked that Bama lost. Or
in the past, you would have felt that.
Exactly.
No doubt.
Or because we're in this middle of that dynasty. I mean, like now, this week, if Notre Dame beats Ohio State, all right, that's the ninth best team in the country beating the 6th best team in the country. All right, it's surprising, but it's not going to shake up my day.
Yeah.
It just feels like there's a lot of really good teams. But look at the top 25. LSU is at 12. They're not number 3.
No.
LSU's at 12. Alabama's at 13. Ole Miss is in the top 15. Duke is in the top 25. These teams that you're not used to being in notable spots are there.
I think this is also good for preparation for the new up and coming college football playoff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to I think it's setting up to be very interesting because of, as you spoke about, the parodies that come out. I think in the past, I would have said the last 2 years, if you wanted to expand to 12 teams, I would have been like, you freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Like 12 down to 6 is going to get walloped. You know, I mean, that's kind of what your probable perception would have been. You might have got one upset out of that, but then the further they got down into the 1 through 4s in the latter rounds, wallop. That's kind of what I don't think I see it like that anymore. I still think the top 4 teams are going to be pretty strong and dangerous when you get down to it at the end of the day. Why? In most of those cases, you're going to have a strong quarterback. You're going to have some form of elite skill players, and usually you have some idea of a potential 3-headed monster. So here's the other part of it. In this new day, I don't think you would have seen coaches disrespecting dynasties the
No.
way it's like we are not putting any fodder. I'm humbling myself
because guess what? There's a less likely that you're going to there's more of a chance that you'll actually beat them.
Yeah. So when you see Lane Kiffin, who is throwing trolls out on a Taylor Swift tip, and he's throwing slights out at Alabama, that is not something that you would do. You wanted to upset the apple cart. That's not what you want to do. And so you're seeing that now, and it's inspiring his team in different ways. And you're seeing that with Deion, and you saw that with Colorado
I was just
State.
gonna say, you saw that with Jay Norvell.
Yeah.
And anybody that truly knows the arts, and I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know every little nook and cranny of the coaching game and what they do to motivate their players. Jay Norvell wasn't doing that to spice the game up. That wasn't Jay Norvell was not doing that to get Colorado in a frenzy. He was doing that stuff to get Colorado State
in a frenzy,
ready to go. And look what it did. From a national recognition standpoint, that game was the most watched game in all of college football last week.
All of college,
and it
football.
it was between an 0-1 team and a 2-0 team. It was not some number 1 versus number 3 school, game going on in prime time.
Right.
This was also
it wasn't an LSU.
It was an 8 p.m. game.
Yeah.
I think it might have been even 9 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. It was not a desirable time to watch a football game. The Pac-12 after dark has struggled immensely
over the years.
Everything that we talked about and that was discussed leading up into that game that Jay Norvell did, this wasn't even much of a Deion Sanders thing. Obviously, he's always going to draw eyes, draw cameras, whatever it may be. His comments on Saturday morning on the national shows, draw eyes, whatever. But from a Jay Norvell standpoint, more people talked about Colorado State last week than probably they will combine the rest of the year.
That's a fact. And here's what's unique, and I think this is why you heard Feinbaum and guys like that talk about just the uniqueness of this hire for Colorado, right? They've already made their money on betting on him over right now. People are starting to now do fine-tooth combs on the fact that he's got merchandising outside. You're hearing different things. Well, that's crazy, but okay. But it's the same as the branding part of it, right? If you already have a national brand to yourself, why should you not be able to put out your own branding material? I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. You really couldn't pay him what he probably believed he was worth. You're not going to change the contract because right now you feel that you won on that contract.
Yeah.
So
I think also to a lot of those coaches, it's not, and I think Deion, as much as Nebraska fans aren't going to like to hear this, I'm not sure Deion's on a spot where he's in it for the money right now.
No,
absolutely not. Right. And we know that he's definitely in it. And you hear him talk about it. And there is one non-negotiable, and there's coaches like this all over the country. Deion's just more outward about it, is that nothing will ever come between him and his players from him telling them the truth.
That's it.
And that there's always going to be this universal understanding that from his players' point of view, that their coaches care about him.
That he will protect them.
And once you will find
like
out
one of his own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once you gain that trust from an 18 to 22-year-old player, athlete, student, you're going to figure out that pays dividends in the football field.
That's a fact. Because what's been the most difficult thing for teachers, not coaches alone, but teachers, is being able to create common ground, relate to them, and to get them to buy in to what you're trying to give to them. That's been one of the hardest things to do.
Think exactly what we said about Mickey Joseph last year.
Yeah.
Right. And why was Mickey Joseph so valuable for Nebraska from a wide receiver coach at one point to then the interim head coach to keep a team? He was put in charge to keep a team together because he was one of the best. He was one of the best on that staff at building and cultivating and maintaining relationships.
That's a fact.
It's not a situation building, as listeners know, and especially when it comes to college football, where there's immense pressure, there's immense outside noise, there's so much as Dion says, bull junk going back and forth on social media and on the internet that it's impossible to escape. So as much as you want to try to say, oh, I deleted social media, you don't hear about it. At the end of the day, you're still going to hear about it. Yeah. There's no way to escape it nowadays. It is not just a 3-month job while you're recruiting the guy.
No, it's a continuous job.
It is and to be fair, it is a lifetime.
Yes, continuous.
Because it's how do those guys talk about you after they leave your program?
Right.
Because
do they want to come back?
In the football world,
yeah,
it's extremely valuable to have former players, and Nebraska's part of this. Former players that want to come back, that want to be involved, that are allowed to be involved. And also there's some that maybe are if they're involved, it hurts them rather than helps the program. And you have to weed a couple of those out and kind of set boundaries, right? Limits are obviously understandable and acceptable. But it's for Dion's sake. How is Travis Hunter going to talk about Dion in the football world when he's talking to younger players in the youth football world?
Touched him.
7-8 years when Travis Hunter is out of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to talk about him in an extremely positive light. To where if Dion is still the coach at Colorado or if he's off at Florida State or off at wherever.
Still going to go back.
It's, hey, Dion's the guy. Coach Prime is who you want to play for.
Yeah.
Because we're still maintaining that relationship 7, 8, 9, 10 years out of college. So, and Dion said this actually on 60 Minutes last weekend. He said, and this might ruffle some feathers because this is very different from what it used to be in college football.
Mm-hmm.
Dion admitted, Coach Prime admitted, these guys aren't coming to play for Colorado. They're coming to play for me. And he said, but Colorado knows that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that is such a glaring statement from Coach Prime to where it's, these guys aren't coming to play for Colorado. They're coming for me. And I just happen to be tied to Colorado. But whoever,
that's real though.
It's
and
so
people hate it
because
it sounds arrogant. But it's real.
It is.
And we live in such a crazy false reality. Like up is down, left is right, backward is forward. Like in reality, it's not right.
Yeah.
And because he's doing it out of the scope of any traditional methods, it comes across
It's frowned upon.
And that's unfortunate because look, I used to tell, I say, listen, it wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
It was the relation that I was able to build. Like when I would come and sometimes go down and watch practices, right? I had developed a great relation when Derek Walker first came.
Yeah.
So whenever I saw Derek, it was always mutual respect and love.
Mm-hmm.
It would immediately come over. It would be sometimes, hey man, what do you see? Is there something, that I'm doing?
Yeah.
It was simple adjustments that I would help him with his free throw shooting that helped him to help Nebraska win a few games because he made some free throws that he wasn't making. It's not because of the person or it was because it was the relationship him and I built.
It's not because you played in the NBA.
No.
It's not because you played at Nebraska. It's not that at all. I mean, there's obviously that is as a
common ground,
beneficial part of it. But I think another thing to keep in mind when we talk about this, it's okay to build a foundation on the relationship between coach and player and take the university out of it nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because in 4 years, they will, because of the people that are at Colorado that they've built the foundation with, they will learn and they will develop a love for Colorado in that instance. Travis Hunter he built this whole entire foundation of a relationship with Deion Sanders, but through his 3 years at Colorado, he's going to learn and he's going to develop to love Colorado, the university.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, just because
it works backwards.
If we wanted to put a Nebraska scope on it, there are certainly recruits out there that will be able to connect with Evan Cooper, will be able to connect with EJ Barthel, Marcus Satterfield, even Tony White. That they're going to commit to Nebraska simply because of the relationships, and they like the town when they come and visit, and they like the facilities, sure. But really, it's hard to begin loving Nebraska when you haven't spent a whole lot of time here.
And you don't know.
And as fans, correct me if I'm wrong on the Sutter Heyman text line or on the stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Allo, channel 951. as fans, do we really want somebody saying right off the bat, without truly knowing or experiencing Nebraska and the fan base and what it's like to play here and the grind of Lincoln, do we want them just to say it? Or would we rather, after 5 years and going through whatever they go through, saying, hey, you know what? I came here because of a coach. I'm not afraid to admit that. But man, after going through it with my guys, with my teammates, with my coaches, man, I love Nebraska.
Exactly.
And I can't wait to come back. I feel like that carries so much more weight than a recruit. And it obviously these are going to sell. Recruits going, Nebraska's home. Yeah, it is. But there's a lot of unknowns in the next 3 to 4 years of your career.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unknowns. I just think it's important to take stock in maybe it's okay that it's an unconventional way.
Exactly. And Nick, and you said something that's important, and it continuously brings my mind back to this point. There was an instance where there was a heavily recruited young man out of New Zealand that was on a recruiting visit. I happened to be at the same game, happened to be sitting next to his family. And because of the common relationship that we shared in basketball with his father, him playing professionally, me playing professionally, but us playing at the same time, so kind of having some idea of each other. I'm sitting next to a young man named Ty Webster. Yep. Ty sitting next to me. We're just kind of chopping it up, man, just getting his head, piece on things that are going on. But his dad says, Ty, move down here. Let me sit next to Eric. Comes and sits next to me and asks me about why should I bring my son here? None of the coaches could sell him on that because he told me, I'm not sending my son. Yeah. I don't think he's I'm gonna send him here. I'm like, well, why? Give me your thoughts. I just don't think this is the place for him. Well, let me tell you a little something about that. I'm being from here, living here, playing here, the experience, the conveying of the message by the time that was over and said and done, you know the outcome of it, because obviously he did what?
He played.
He played here. You know what I'm saying?
A big part.
So it wasn't that. This is something about the relationship part of it, because there's a perception out there about Nebraska, probably about an Iowa, probably about a Wisconsin. Every place has some form of perception.
And it's hard to escape that outside perception because it's so accessible now.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that Nebraska hasn't made the NCAA tournament in years.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Nebraska basketball hasn't won an NCAA tournament game. You got to figure out ways to recruit through that. And frankly, if relationships are the way to do it, okay, do it.
Yeah.
Win.
Yeah.
And then they'll learn to love Nebraska.
I had at one time during that same period, because I was actually coaching, I had relationships with family members of young men. One of them played in the Elite Eight. They didn't want him here at Nebraska.
Yeah.
One of them. Another one, two of them were raw kids, and I'll tell you their names because they ended up getting drafted. One of them was Kyrie Thomas.
Yep.
I had a mentoring relationship with him. I mean, we were talking about things he needed to work on. I was working with him, off-site drilling him.
Yeah.
And I had a relationship with him. And I told the staff at the time, I said, listen, this young man right here, he can guard like me. He can get anywhere he wants. He's raw, but he works on that game. Didn't want him. Next one, he's too skinny. He's not strong enough. He can't play Big Ten ball. His name was Justin Patton. I went to high school with his mom, had a relationship there.
Yeah.
Could have
Two guys that frankly went to Creighton.
That basically beat the brakes off of us every year they played us. And so that's what I'm talking about, the relationships. That's one of the areas that we have to break through, and we've got to get back to that.
That's just, it's so fascinating. I mean, and it can be applicable to all sports. I just think we put so much we being the fans and fan bases and outsiders of this. We forget, we always, the cliche term of we forget that they're 18, 17, 16 years old during the recruiting process. But think about that moment in your life. I mean, you're all right. Who can I trust? Who can I lean on in this world of, if you're a high level recruit, if you're a high profile guy, there is a lot of attention on you and a lot of eyeballs. And it's frankly, a pretty big decision ahead of you. that once again, it's you got to go somewhere where you trust the guy or the gal that you're putting your future, your college and athletic career in the hands of. And I think at times, I mean, you look at Coach Prime's such an easy example. It's such an easy example. It's low hanging fruit, but the deeper meaning behind it is valid, to where it's once again in a few years when Travis Hunter,
better get him now,
Shedeur Sanders, but no, it's more when Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders all have ties with youth football, the same way Deion has ties with youth football. That's why all these guys came. That's how Deion Sanders knew all these guys.
That's how Edwards got there.
Was from his youth football coaching days in Texas. And so with that, I mean, frankly, even Marquise Buford was coached by Deion Sanders in Texas. Marquise Buford, Nebraska, was coached by Deion Sanders. To where it's you go back and it's, man, what's the connection here? He's had their best interest in heart and mind since day one, day one of their football career. And so, can you really blame them that in a very unsure and frankly a gamble of where you're going to college and the position that you're going to be in and your situation, is it going to set you up for future success and potentially be in the pros? They're going to go to the guy they trust the most.
That's a fact. Now, before we get to break, I'm going to throw this at you, and you can answer it however you decide to, or Sutter Heyman text line, as well as the streaming platforms. You're welcome to chime in. But here's the thing. I think the thing to watch also is coming after this year, on top of what you just said, what's the transfer portal going to look like? What at Colorado? What type of retention? Because that's part of what you'll see, because there's a lot of turnover in some programs, but how you retain is also going to be an important piece.
I thought it was really interesting because it was after week one, Deion. I'm blanking on the name of the TCU running back. He got hurt in the game against Colorado.
Oh yeah, the big fella.
And Deion went across from the other sideline, went over to that player and said, "Hey man, you're good. You're good. You've been beating us all day. Get up and keep beating us.
And if you don't get up, they don't have no chance." That's what he said.
And that's what he said. But why did he say that to him? It was because that player tried to come play for him, and he told him no. So even when in a lot of situations, that's awkward as hell.
Yeah.
That's awkward as hell for the coach because you said no. That's awkward as hell for the player because he basically got told he wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Or that he got denied. That coach comes over and still says, "Hey man, get up because without you, they don't got a chance."
That's deep. And
it's unreal.
It's unreal.
So when you're sitting there as a player and you go, all right, even when we're opponents and when I'm injured, I'm laying on my back on the turf, he's over here telling me, "Hey, come on, man. Come on. Even though you're not one of us, but come on, man."
He still thinks well of him.
Because game recognized game.
That's
and so now you're seeing here in year one, and I'm not trying to make this all about Colorado. We are not trying to make this all about Colorado, but it's such an easy and applicable example right now with the transfer portal, with talent, with winning, with the way college football is nowadays, that everybody can relate to. It also helps that Nebraska played them. But with that in mind, Deion brought in talent without winning. Without winning. He won at Jackson State, yes, without winning in the Power 5. So now he took the FBS's worst program last year. Got outscored 241 to 40 in the month of November last year. And in one off season, cleaned house, brought in who he wanted, denied the guys that he wanted to deny. And they might get blown out this week, but they're getting a taste of winning. And so now in this next offseason, it's not so much about weeding guys out or forcing guys out. It's, all right, who else can I bring in to test these guys? That they were good enough last year, but now who else can I bring in to elevate them? Because guess what? If I bring in let's say I'm the starting quarterback this year, you're at Alabama, you're Milroe. Milroe wants to transfer. Milroe's better than me. So Deion's like, "Hey man, come over here. Now you guys are doing it out." Because why? Because Milroe is an exceptional talent. You're an exceptional talent, but then that's also going to want to make me rise to the occasion. Which then, bam, You're going ultra competitive there.
That happened to me my junior year. I was frustrated with some things here at Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
We go down and play Kansas. We're at Kansas. I had a pretty good game. Coach Roy Williams, I kind of see in the back, and he sees me dejected.
Yeah.
And he comes up to me and he's like, man, boy, I sure wish I should have made a decision to keep you or to bring you. And I said, yeah, coach, I definitely would have came and played for you. And he says to me, Coach Roy Williams says, boy, if it wasn't for Rex Walters, we were on you. He said, if it wasn't for Rex Walters transferring in, we were coming for you.
Yeah.
But you keep killing and doing. It helped that little word from Coach Roy Williams just helped to elevate me to go to another level.
That's my thing is like the programs want to talk so much about how they have competitiveness and how they have battles and team needs. Frankly, aside from depth and addressing depth, like you can always go get talent, whatever you're in, whether it's a 9-to-5 job or whether it's an athletic program.
But can you
develop it?
Can you develop it?
But like from that example specifically, is if you got 2 5-stars, one of them's either going to rise to both of them are going to rise to the occasion. Then you have a very difficult choice on your hands that you have to make, which, hey, okay, go ahead. Make it difficult. Coaches always say, make it tough for me. Or you're going to start to weed them out and you're going to be like, all right, man, you're not holding up to the standard here. And that's when we get to talk about expectation, standard, and rising to the occasion. Man, crazy stuff.
Good stuff, though.
Competitiveness. Never too much.
It never ends. It never ends.
And it never should, because as coaches and as programs, and this is Nebraska too, always should want to get better.
There's someone always coming to get your job. That's how we looked at it.
There was something that was said. Now, granted, I never played near the levels of you and Jay and all that. But even at high school level, it was, hey, if you don't want to do your job, there's 31 dudes behind you that will. And it was like that bleep moment. You either do it or you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing is if Nebraska, I mean, we can get into real seriousness. Since we're on stream, we don't have to have time constraints, thankfully. But like Nebraska's quarterback situation next year, not to look too far ahead, they have to make 2 serviceable guys. Do you want to ride with serviceable, or do you want to go out and get somebody that's going to push those serviceable guys to be playmakers?
Yeah.
Or if they don't want to rise to the occasion themselves, you brought somebody in that's already there.
Yeah.
Like that's what the transfer portal can do for programs, and we've seen it with Colorado.
I would have to agree with you. Wow. Great stuff, Nick. We're going to have to get out of here for a quick break. We'll come back and tidy it up, and we don't know what we're going to get into at this point.
we weren't expecting
that. We dug into it, but we'll get back to you. 93.7 The Ticket. We are on the block. We'll be right back.
Our Remington Homes has really expanded and taken off in the last 5 years.
Bob Benish of Aspen Builders talking about their exciting new division, Remington Homes, which makes the home building process easier and more affordable.
The exciting thing about a Remington home is you get to choose your floor plan from predetermined floor plans. You can select your options. We give you a lot of choices. By selecting certain floor plans, they're just easier to build. And you couple that with our great lot selection in all different areas. People do not want to be married to their house payment. They want to get a nice house with nice finishes in a great area for an affordable price. And that's what Remington Homes are all about.
Home building is easier with a Remington home from Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at remingtonlincoln.com. remingtonlincoln.com.
Why are some people more successful? Is it talent and determination, or did they recognize an opportunity? Discover a career that lets you help families reach their financial goals as you build lasting professional relationships. One with unlimited income potential. From Modern Woodman, a leading fraternal financial services provider.
I'm Modern Woodman Regional Director Sean Erickson. Call me at 402-483-6515 to learn about career opportunities.
Modern Woodman of America. Touching lives, securing futures.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit OStreetCarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Gray Diesel and Equipment Services is your go-to place in Lincoln for repairs and maintenance for diesel pickups to Class 8 over-the-road trucks and trailers, from bumper pole utility to full-size semi. Gray performs DOT inspections and are a service provider for fleet companies like ARI, Element Fleet, and FleetNet. They're a family-owned business in operation since 1952, and they keep a clean, friendly shop. Customer service is their top priority. Give Gray Diesel and Equipment Services a visit today, with easy access just off I-80 and North 56th Street.
Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beer, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top shelf liquor to crowd favorite beer, Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstorats.com for amazing offers, and if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Don't allow uninvited guests to take over your home. Trust Bats to Rats for a peaceful and rodent-free living space.
If your car has sent you to the sidelines, Eustace Body Shop can help. With gold-class certified technicians, OEM parts, and free loaner cars, Eustace Body Shop is your best choice this Husker season. And with 6 locations across central and eastern Nebraska, we've got you covered, whether you're rooting at home or you're headed to Memorial Stadium. Get a free online quote at EustaceBodyShop.com, and let's get you back in the game.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
If you have concerns about your drinking water, just call Bryant. If your water doesn't look right, smell right, or taste right, Bryant can help. If your water has high levels of iron, Bryant can help. If you're tired of foggy dishes and dingy clothes, Bryant can help. Whatever your home water needs are, Bryant is here with a solution to fit your needs. Be sure about your water. Just call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Plains Cover Crop is your one-stop seed shop. Call us now for spring and summer forages, CRP mixes, and fall cover crop blends. We do farm-specific consulting for practical and efficient seed blends to fit your geography and goals. With a very diverse inventory, we will tailor a blend just for you. We're also looking for contract growers, and we buy and sell rye. Find us online at plainscovercrop.com. Timeless agronomy practices paired with modern technology. East Highway 20 in Orchard and across Nebraska.
Keep summer green with Judson Bylene and Judson Irrigation. More than 40 years ago, Judson Irrigation started taking in orphans. Lawn sprinkler systems installed by a quickie, cheapy summer job, install them and forget them outfit long forgotten. Call Judson Irrigation. They'll never forget you.
Keep summer green. Call Judson Irrigation 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Stricky on the recruiting trail. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're having fun here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Oh, it is on the block. It is definitely on the block. We haven't had anybody gritty by me today, but that's okay. One day somebody will gritty by me and they'll get some stricken. We'll make it happen for them. Hey, great conversation today. Thank you guys once again for listening on the block today. And we're going to go ahead and get into something that it could be conspiracy theory, but it may not. It could be. It could be actual factuals. It depends on how you look at it, right? There's a couple of games that I happen to put my eyes on this week, and some people bring it to attention. People, I think, today are more tuned in on things that they're watching, they're seeing, they're observing, they're putting their eyes on things, and they're really bringing it to light. Because that's what I think YouTube and I think, different platforms, Twitch and Rumble and all these different platforms have given content creators the opportunity to be able to do some things. And I think this is one of them, right? And so the topic right now of discussion is gambling more in effect in sports than we know? So what we've been seeing lately, we've been seeing players all across the board from the professional levels down to probably the peewee levels. I mean, we're seeing lines on high school games now. It's like all over the place. But what I think, though, we're not taking into account is it happening on a bigger scale? And that's just low-hanging fruit that they're just trying to say that it's on the individual as opposed to the collective as a whole. So there's two particular games. Let me just throw them at you. One game was brought to the attention was the Iowa versus Western Kentucky game. Iowa's in the red zone late in the game. The game is basically over. The spread, I think, was 26. For them to kick a field goal leaves them underneath the spread. They line up with 4th and goal and go for it so that they can cover the spread. Like, it doesn't make sense. Normally a game that's over, you either kneel down, kick the field goal if you want to get reps for your guy. But you don't line up normally, let's be real, on a 4th down situation and do that. And the other game was obviously the Rams who did a kick the meaningless field goal. So you have a couple of those situations.
What I will say is, like, we've seen it before where in situations, especially in NFL, where NFL teams will kick a field goal with time still on the clock on 1st, 2nd, 3rd down, any other non-4th down. They'll kick a field goal if they're down by 10, for example, just to save time and say, we're going to have to kick an onside kick nonetheless. So let's go ahead and just kick the field goal now. We'll kick an onside kick. If we get the onside kick, then we worry about 7. We're in field goal range now. Let's not risk losing points with 1:05 left on the clock, right? Now, I think that this is coming to light because, and being talked about so often because of how visible sports betting is nowadays. You have, prior to games starting, the line show, bet the lines. Here's Colorado was a 12.5 point favorite here. There's
20-point underdogs.
Exactly. So it's like, I think it's
21.
It's so visible and accessible because in a lot of places outside of Nebraska, you're able to do it on your phone. So they're able to grab people that are just listening, whether it's on their way to the game, whether they're tailgating, they turn on the TV, and guess what? It's a sports betting show. It's brought to you by DraftKings, Ameristar, brought to you by FanDuel, whoever you want to have.
Prize Picks.
Yeah, whoever.
All these crazy ones.
It's, hey, don't forget to put it in, and here's the one you need to pick, right? So I think since it's at the forefront of our minds, because now you see segments on SportsCenter of bad beats and teams covering in the last second, that when in the grand scheme of it, there are hundreds and thousands of games and sporting events being played, that in the grand scheme of it, when there's 1 or 2, it's all at the forefront of our minds. So we're going, wait a minute. That seems fishy.
Messed up my parlay.
That's not, that seems fishy. Iowa especially. I think it's at the forefront of everybody's mind because they got so much trouble. They got so much trouble with it.
Yeah, it's just interesting stuff to think about. I mean, I'm not going to say it is or it isn't, but it kind of it's a good movie, right? To say like the mafiosos or whatever, the kingpins or whatever they're calling down. You've seen it on the movie. What was the movie about the racing? It was a race car driving. I think I want to say Ford, and it was the Mustang guy. Shelby. It was Shelby. It dealt with that movie. So what was ended up happening is the driver, I think that was the movie. The driver was one of those guys that was like, I'm the guy, I'm going to win. But the powers that be were calling down and saying, make it close. Make it close. So he had to make a decision. whether to slow down or speed up. But then I think he ended up making a decision to just go ahead and win it. But that's the issues that I thought about, like, who's calling down there and saying you need to
and
go ahead
frankly,
and go for this
like,
one.
let's be honest here. These are, I mean, it's similar conversation to what we had last segment. Like, these are 18-year-old guys that in a football game, there are potentials and possibilities for, like, on fourth down, when you think you're just doing a hard count, they actually run a play. Like, or hey, let's wait till the play clock winds down to 1, and then we're going to call a timeout. But they actually run the play, right? So I think there's situations in that regard. But I think a lot of times, since it's so prevalent and since it's so accessible and visible and popular now, and frankly accepted, I think you're going to hear a lot more about these situations of, like, all right, that's really fishy. Why did they call this, right? Because now, I mean, think about it. After the Iowa stuff came out, and it was that one wide receiver that I'm blanking on the name of, but it was one wide receiver comes out and says, or he's like, yeah, he was in trouble for gambling on an Iowa football game. And it was like whether or not Iowa was going to cover the spread in that game.
Something to fourth.
Yeah. Arlen Bruce. He catches a touchdown in that game to, like, have Iowa cover or whatever. But earlier in the game, he dropped a ball that he should have caught. All these things are going to be examined under a microscope if they're needed to be. But I think in these situations, like the field goal with that, Sean McVay, his reasoning behind it was that, hey, we wanted to give our special teams guys a rep, and we wanted to avoid having Matthew Stafford heave it down the field in an unnecessary time. I see, maybe I'm putting too much faith in people, but I see a valid reason there. I'm putting
I don't know. I'm just throwing
am I putting
conspiracies
too
out
much
there.
faith in people?
I don't know, man. It's just weird. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I put something out there. I think I saw something on a show, and I threw something out there in the Jets, and then I'm like, you mother sucker.
Mm-hmm.
You boy.
Yeah.
Did he really pop it, or did he? Or did they want us to put it in there?
Here's I'll pull a page out of the Choices Treatment Center, Mike Chandra, that we had on the show, thanks to Choices Treatment Center. If your day is ruined because a team does not cover the spread and it loses you a lot of money, if it's that serious, don't do it. Don't do it anymore.
That's understandable.
If you can't fathom to lose that money, don't be gambling it.
Yeah, I agree. It should be something that's just kind of fun, similar to like going out and playing
Bingo.
golf. I don't get that serious on golf because I see them missing 5-foot putts.
Because I
too.
suck.
I mean, I get excited when I shouldn't be, but I get excited when they miss 5-foot putts. I'm like, oh,
exactly. I'm like,
they're pros.
One of us. One of us. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into the crossover with the old school crew. We don't know which one's in the building, but we do know DP is here. Jay may be in the building
Jay
later.
is calling in today, so he will not be here.
Well, there it is. We're going to have a crossover shortly. And man, it flew by real quick. Tricky Nicky.
There it is.
All right. We'll be right back. 93.7 The Ticket on the block.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
If you want all the latest technologies from those big banks, but you also want that hometown feel when you walk in the front doors, choose Midwest Bank. They have top-notch technology. They make banking so easy, and they also have the friendliest staff who will take their time to get to know you and treat you like family. You get the best of both worlds when you choose Midwest Bank. I live on the go, and now I can bank on the go. With Midwest Bank, I have everything I need at my fingertips. I'm volleyball player Allie Batenhorst, and at Midwest Bank, you'll love banking here.
You're counting on your team to win, so why not prove it? By placing your bets at Warhorse Sportsbook. Their win is your win. Put your money where your mouth is on nearly every sporting event. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person at Warhorse Casino, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and Bob just wanted to say thank you for a record-setting July here at Koppel. The summer sales event continues in August, and the incentives are crazy good. Check this out. We got 0.9% financing along with a $2,500 trade-in rebate on select new models. You heard right. 0.9% financing has been extended along with a trade-in rebate. Also, our GM-certified used inventory is filling up fast, so make that money-saving drive to Koppel. It's just south of the interstate, or shop online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All deals with roof credit.
The Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, Nebraska National Guard, 55th Wing, and the Lincoln Airport Authority present the Guardians of Freedom Air Show, featuring the U.S. Navy Blue Angels, the F-16 Viper demo team, F-35, and the Air Force Wings of Blue. Experience a spectacle that your family will remember forever. The Guardians of Freedom Air Show, Saturday, August 26th and Sunday, August 27th at Lincoln Air Park. Parking and admission are free. Learn more at LincolnAirshow.com.
Arnold's Tavern in Havelock is the place to be this summer, and the best place in town for shuffleboard. Come on Wednesdays and learn from some of the best players in town for the Shuffleboard Corner. Come on Sundays for Open House League all day starting at 11 a.m. and enjoy $3 tall boys and $3 wells. Shake off the start to the work week with karaoke on Monday nights. And don't forget, happy hour is every day from 3 to 6 p.m., and you are always welcome to bring in your own food. Arnold's Tavern in the heart of Havelock.
Are you tired of living in pain? It's time to take control. At Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, we're your one-stop shop for expert care in Lincoln. From broken bones to complex reconstruction, our skilled team will help you get back on track. Visit prairieortho.com today and discover why we're the trusted choice for thousands of patients. Don't let pain hold you back. Take the first step towards a better, pain-free life with Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, where healing begins. Call 402-489-4700.
Warning, this ad will use the F word often, so listen at your own risk. Family fun, fun with friends, freedom from fuel, free Yeti cooler, free driveway delivery. Hey, this is Carl from Nebraska Golf Carts and Price Right Auto, and we have the all-electric Bentelli Fun Carts, and they are a blast. Plenty of fun colors, and these street-legal carts come with both 4 and 6 passenger. Tell us you heard us on the ticket and get a free Yeti cooler with your purchase. Hurry, supply is limited. Check them out at 1235 West O in Lincoln or NebraskaGolfCarts.com.
You've driven by GE Landscape Supply countless times, likely without even knowing, at 6701 Cornhusker Highway. Now it's time to stop in. GE Landscape Supply sells to homeowners and contractors with a vast selection of landscaping and construction materials. They sell in bulk to save you money, and you can buy anything from a 5-gallon bucket to a semi-load. And don't forget, they deliver anywhere. Stop by 6701 Cornhusker Highway from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday and 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays. Go to GELandscapeSupply.com for more info or call 402-467-1627.
It's less than 1 month until the Guardian.
Repeat after me. I will not touch the fuse box.
I will probably not touch the fuse box.
Sip, do you remember what happened last time?
Yeah, I remember.
What happened?
Half of the city block lost power.
And?
My chicken condo went haywire.
That's right. The chickens ran wild. So what do we do instead?
Call Joe at Ambition Electric and let him handle everything. Look, saved on speed dial.
Ambition Electric, 402-217-3415 or online at ambitionelectric.com.
H&H Roofing, established in 2015, is proud to serve the local area, which includes the tri-state area in Nebraska, Iowa, and South Dakota. H&H Roofing has a professional team that are licensed and bonded, GAF Master Certified Installers, and an insurance-preferred contractor that will work directly with your insurance company. Also a leading roofer, siding, and gutter specialist. H&H Roofing will service all residential, commercial, and agricultural needs. Go to HandHroofs.com for more information or call 402-359-2546.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Crossing over with DP from Old School. Jay will be calling in. DP, I know you've had a pretty hectic day, man. I mean, things are still in motion here, so you're doing super duty.
Yeah, I mean, it's the labor of love thing. Shout out to, again, all the contractors who are consistently upgrading, improving, making adjustments, in-game audibles. Shout out to the fans, the listeners, the family for understanding that this is all new equipment. So imagine building a radio station from the ground up when it comes to, and from the ground to the satellite. So there are some bells and whistles that, look, quite frankly, you don't know how it's going to process till it processes. Podcast studio, coffee, you got retail. Again, shout out to Chef Bob Haney and his lovely wife. They came in from Heavenly Waffles, hooked up family up.
Yeah.
Charlie Colon from Chick-fil-A, South Point. And Charlie's always good to be around, like good-hearted people doing good-hearted things. It's always cool to watch. And then the meetings that you just have to go through. And then remember that we're also in the transition. So you're headed towards 2 big weeks of home games and home football games. Plus, we've got new programming all next week that we have to organize, get signed, get all the graphics and assets put together. We have a new billboard that you have to feed and update on a regular basis. All the nighttime shows, the weekend shows, adjusted schedules. And by the way, around not only is volleyball making its national bid for a national title, but now you're walking into that border of winter season where basketball is starting to send out information. You got to start to pay attention to that. Oh, by the way, Major League Baseball is headed towards its playoff run. The NFL is getting it cracking,
ramped up,
and the NBA is next month.
It's crazy.
So
a lot of stuff, a
right?
lot of turning pieces.
I've got two speakers who are doing their first heads next month. So trying to get them prepared for the biggest 17 minutes of their life. And then I've got 2 books coming out in the next 2 months. So
lovely stuff.
Nothing going on.
Not too much going on.
Nothing going on. Nothing.
Well.
Tell me you're busy. Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to? How do you want to integrate? Well, we got to go station identification because now we're back on the radio.
Oh yeah, that's right. Hold on 1 second. I got to pull the right file up. There it is. Nice and easy.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, so here's
We
where I
had a
want to
lot
go.
of great discussions today, DP.
So here's the thing. Parity in college football.
Okay.
We're talking about Alabama and how Jalen Milroe is back to being the starting quarterback. Ole Miss is ranked 15th. You have an Oregon State team in the top 15 where you're not used to maybe seeing Oregon State in the top 20 in recent years. That is. And it's a first-time head coach in Jonathan Smith doing it in his what is it, 5th or 6th year at Oregon State. Just the parity in college football this year where it doesn't necessarily feel like there's a top dog that's going to run away with it. You have LSU, who's at number 12 in the country right now. You have Ohio State, who's there, but doesn't really feel like the dominant type. Michigan hasn't put together a really solid performance from start to finish yet. The parity in college football.
Tell me what your meaning of definition of parity is, because parity can be sameness, likeness at the top, sameness, likeness in the middle or second level, right? Because parity at the second level, the NFL has parity, but there's only 8 teams that legitimately have a shot at winning the title.
Yes.
College football has parity in the middle because it does not have a finite dog at the top of it other than Georgia. And Georgia's still the dog. No matter what they do before then, they're the dog. College baseball, college basketball, all the same thing. So parity can mean in the middle of the pack, kind of where everybody works from. It should make the college football playoff run more interesting because we don't know. I think we'll know in 7 weeks. But for now, we have no idea who the playoff teams would be.
It's like playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
It's like you don't know whose head's gonna pop up this week and who's gonna go down or where I need to hit the mark. It's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah. Are you in the place where you would want to lay your odds that it's a familiar face in the 2 familiar faces in the championship game? One familiar, one not familiar, or 2 kind of underdogs who fight their way up through it, because this could be an Oregon State, Duke, sort of year, right?
Crazy.
The Duke
Crazy as that sounds, but it's possible.
That we're on the cusp of a time when Duke could actually win the ACC, and that we wouldn't be surprised by it.
That's what we just said.
Right?
The non-surprise of the moment,
right?
Is what's not
that it could be
like
Duke.
the loss of like Notre Dame, the Notre Dame game, and
Ohio State this weekend.
Like in the past, you would be like, "Oh, that's a big upset," but it don't feel that way, like you just said.
Yeah, I don't think it's a year where everybody expects to win every game. I think it's a year that, come see me in November. Like this is a come see me in November kind of deal, because in the meanwhile, Clemson has a chance to still find its way, get its legs, and dobble its way all the way into this conversation.
Florida State has a way of walking out of it.
Florida State has a way of doing the Dallas Cowboys
right
moonwalk out of playoff success, right?
Right.
But if they didn't this year, we wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. Then there's TCU, who found a way, and once you find a way, you know the way. So if they decided to get it together from Colorado, and quite frankly, we don't know what Colorado is in truth, right? We don't know.
They test this week.
Like we don't know. And even if they fail this week, they're still, that means nothing.
Nothing.
Because then they're in a week-to-week battle on their way through. And I'm not surprised what happens with that team on a week-to-week. Right? They don't know, Shedeur Sanders going to play. Is he going to get suspended? We don't know. Does Travis Hunter come back? Are you getting the legitimate work? Is Utah legit with Cam Rising healthy? When he gets healthy, I think they're a top 4 team. As a matter of fact, I think they're a top 2 team when he's healthy. If he doesn't get healthy, then okay. I'm still not surprised if Utah wins the Pac-12. So yeah, everybody's in the pool. There are a lot of oars in the water. I'm just not sure what the expectation. Like, I'm not sure. What is Jake? That's
Jay on the line.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and bring in Jay. Mr. Foreman, how's life treating you on a Wednesday?
You treat me all right. How about yourself, there, Nicholas?
pretty well. Hey, so we were just talking. Let's get your thoughts. We were just talking about the balance. Maybe that's a better word for it than parity. Balance in college football, to where you have Oregon State's a great example, to where they bring in a guy, and DJ Uiagalelei, that transforms it into and helps them build into a top 15 team where they're undefeated. They're number 14 in the country currently. And here, as DP was just saying, in November, that could be a team that's playing for not only the Pac-12 title, but maybe a New Year's Six bid or something like that. Just the balance in college football through the first 3 weeks of the year between like teams, probably 2, because not including Georgia, teams number 2 through number 20, it's pretty balanced in college football. So
Pause.
far.
Yeah, Jim Philippi on the Utah, Jim Philippi on the Utah stream says, at this point, this adds on to what Nick was saying. As of this point in the season, no team has a greater than 50% chance of winning outside of Georgia, I think. Winning it, statistically speaking, that says parity. What you think about that comment?
Yeah. I mean, he's right. I mean, it's right on the mark. I mean, it's one of those odd years, and it's led. Some places, some people have really good quarterbacks, and some quarterbacks that were supposed to be really good, haven't played up to their potential. Or you have somebody like Caleb Williams that's superior talented without a defense, and so there's that's a huge deficiency. The thing about Oregon State, and I was studying them the other day, is they have the definitely have the number 1 defense in the Pac-12. They're one of the top defenses in the nation. The way that they played last year was more of a Big Ten physical, downhill punch you in the face, and they had skill position players, but not a really good quarterback. And so for DJ Uiagalelei to go up there kind of off the beaten path, kind of reinvent himself a la kind of Michael Penix Jr. up there, kind of, out of the limelight, less pressure, you're getting more bang for your buck, along with the system that fits his skill. And then you have like Utah, right? They're on the map, and they're in the national thought process, and even Washington and Oregon right now. So all it's telling you is the main players are not the foregone conclusion to be the favorites, because besides Georgia, and you can't even put Alabama in there this year because they're so deficient and the two most important positions for them is quarterback and offensive line. It's just Georgia, Michigan, and I can't even put Ohio State in there because they're breaking in a new quarterback at the hardest position. So it's up for grabs. I mean, even for a team like Penn State, right, that's always has a really good defense. They're going to have athletes. They got a first-round pick at corner, first through third-round pick linebacker, a couple of defensive line guys that are draftable, along with a couple safeties. They have, quite frankly, and James Franklin's tenure there finally has the best offensive line, 2 NFL quarterbacks, skill position guys, and then Drew Aller, the quarterback, is playing up to potential. So if they continue to go along and get the right, mix in them playing right, they can knock off Ohio State, and then everything's topsy-turvy going into when they expand the playoffs. This is actually working out the best for college football to have the excitement because, as you see, Georgia's not there yet, but with Alabama, everybody's going to tune in to watch you lose. So it's really, I like it right now, and just because this is, I wouldn't call this separation weekend, but I think this is coming out party weekend. This is going to let you know if UCLA is for real, Oregon State, who's really real there. You got Notre Dame, Ohio State, all these different teams are playing in their ranks. It's going to let you know where people are at and where they're starting and where possibly they can end up just based on this first big weekend in college football, and it's only going to be week 4.
Jay, Penn State's a really interesting example. Once again, Jay Foreman joining us on the Allo VIP line, 402-464-5685. Jay, Penn State's a really interesting example because you look at what the conversation has been around the Nittany Lions the last few years, and they've been the top 3 teams in the Big Ten East for the most part. There's just been some separation between Ohio State, Michigan, and then Penn State. And we're seeing now with a guy like Drew Aller has been able to kind of put them into that top conversation while in a year that Ohio State is trying to figure out quarterback. Quarterback is so important right now because now Penn State's playing like a number 7 team in the country so far through a small sample size of 3 weeks.
Yeah, James Franklin and them, with Clifford last year, they had to go back and forth, and they had somewhat of an open competition. Clifford beat them out, and then they did the smart thing. They didn't force them down the team's throat and the fans' throat. They didn't subside to the pressure. It actually worked out for Drew Aller. He got to see a really good player in Clifford have a record-breaking year last year, so he learned a lot there. And when he took over, he's ready. The offensive line got better. They had 2 young running backs that really took off. Now the defense is more mature, even though they lost the first-round corner in Joey Porter Jr. So when you think about the quarterback position, what he's able to do right now is because they haven't forced him out there so early and put the whole program on his shoulders. He has superior talent around him. 2 really good running backs, a great offensive line, a good tight end, and 2 really good receivers, along with, let's not forget, Potts from Minnesota, who has over 1,500 yards in career rushing stats, is their 3rd team back.
Wow.
He's there just teaching those young guys how to be a better college football player. So in a pinch, if one guy's hurt or you need to get him healthy for a week or 2, you got a potential 2nd or 3rd team prior all Big Ten back that knows how to play in the Big Ten coming off the bench. So it's going to keep rolling. And then this. And when you're able to run the ball, it makes the defense better and it takes the pressure off the quarterback. But Drew Aller has shown that if it comes down to it, he can drive, Penn State down and win a game. And that's what separates quarterback play is, do you have the ability to make a drive when you need to? You saw it last week in that Saturday night game against Colorado State in Colorado. Colorado State was winning the whole game. When it came down to it, who took over? You got to have, if you're going to be a big-time quarterback, you got to have the ability to do that when called upon, and that's what's separating some of these teams that are really making a push to gain some ground, and then also the teams that are struggling a little bit. And also there's another team that's going to be, something to deal with, and I think it's going to be based on their schedule, is Maryland. The way that they're playing offensively and defensively, that game when they play Penn State, because that is a rivalry game, right? Maryland's always kind of like their little brother because Penn State comes in and takes their recruits. Maryland's playing with an edge this year that they hadn't played with prior. So I think, look, the great thing about it is, and I always say this, all these coaches that are at like these other universities that are not getting it like, normal, like the headlines, they went to work in the spring. They're coaching for their jobs and they're coaching for stability for their staff. And you see the improvements that these guys have made. And I think it's commendable, but then also very excited for college football.
I guess last thing is when we're speaking about Maryland and DP, for sure, you can jump in on this too. They lose Raheem Jarrett, who was a 5-star wide receiver coming out of high school last year, but they returned an experienced quarterback in a conference that there weren't a lot of experienced quarterbacks returning. Maryland was one of the few that brought back a returning quarterback with starting experience. And that's shown to be extremely valuable for the Terrapins and Mike Locksley.
Well, yeah, and I mean the quarterback, that's the guy that stirs the drink. But you got to think they lost their receiver last year to the draft, and obviously out of nowhere they had a first-round corner, which lets you know that the overall athletic ability on that team, and getting a lot of guys out of that DMV, what DP could tell you is second to none. Mm-hmm. Now, what people didn't give him credit for is they had Hemby, who was their running back. He was a 1,000-yard runner as a freshman. So that he's able to take the pressure off of, the younger receivers developing. But they had their leading receiver coming back. So the connection immediately, I'll call him TT, for TT and his number one receiver, along with Hemby, it's business as usual, because if you have a good quarterback in a good system, right, the easiest position to make the transition from high school to college is receiver now, because of all the 7-on-7. And you have somebody that can deliver you the mail along with the offensive concept. So stepping in as a younger receiver, whether you've been on in the cupboard waiting to get your time, or you're a young guy coming right out of high school or the portal, it's easy to step in there to be productive because the spacing is correct and you have a guy that can deliver the mail.
Yeah, once again, that's Jay Foreman on the line. Jay, you're going to stick around, I'm sure, for old school with you and DP. But Stricky, man, this was a blast. 2-4, it went by quick.
Yeah, flew right by, man. It's good to have you on the show, and we'll welcome Austin back on tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But we'll be doing this pretty regularly now. Oh man, get ready for DP, old school, and Jay Foreman as they'll take over and take you through from 4 to 6. Old school next. We are on the block. We'll see you mañana, 2-4. Peace.
Guys, you've heard me tell you all about Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping. But it's not just me. Folks all over town are getting into shape with the FXB program. Guys like Ryan, who joined at the same time I did a year and a half ago.
Yeah, Mark, I'm in better shape than I have been in quite some time. The people